I was really wanting to focus on this terrain of resentment and blame and anger. It's just, so much in our world. I know, this sense of being so divided and making others the enemy. And I watch it in myself every day. I just want to let you know, listening to podcasts and the news, and immediately my mind sorting, good guys, bad guys. And I know that I'm not alone, I know how it happens. It's just very reflexive. So I keep having to pause. I keep having to sense I'm not living in the fullness of awareness and heart. And I truly believe if we're going to solve the calamities facing us and evolve, really, we have to do it holding hands. It doesn't happen because one side beats another. It doesn't work to overpower or beat or hate the other side. We have to come together in some way. So if we want to be part of the healing, it has to happen in our own lives, that we face the places of separation. We spend a lot of time, as you know, with the meditation practices, ways we're at war with ourselves, the ways we've turned on ourselves and so on. And it's every bit as much a part of the path to ask, well, how am I creating separation with another person? To ask that and to inquire. And I have seen that some of the greatest suffering is with those the most close in, where we're in conflict. And it can be sometimes the real extreme, where there's like a real major kind of anger, rage, and dividedness. But sometimes it's the resentment, it's that constant replaying of, it's more chronic, that the sense of, just begrudging or resenting, not doing your part, not coming through on this, that really corrodes intimacy. It just does it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the terrain. I'll speak a little bit. We'll do a meditation, and then I'd love to hear from you. Some of you I know listened to my podcast, and I thought you might remember this story. I always like to share it. It's where an 8-year-old asks her mother, how did the human race appear? And her mother, answers, God made Adam and Eve, and they had children, so the whole mankind was made. And then 2 days later, she asks the same question to her father, and he answers, well, many years ago, there were monkeys, and the human race evolved out of monkeys. She's really confused. She goes back to her mom and says, how's it possible? You said humans are created by God, and Dad said that we came from monkeys. And her mom answered, well, dear, it's very simple. I told you about my side of the family, and he told you about his. And I love that, because it's so classic that in some way, wanting to be right, making others wrong. There's an image that has guided me through the years, and it comes from the art of Tibet. And you can find it throughout Buddhist Asia. And it depicts these animal-headed deities, these wrathful, fearsome deities, and they're guarding the entrance to sacred space. This is in the thangkas and the mandalas. So they represent the rage and the lust and the fear and the craving. These are these primitive energies, the anger and the rage, that are so challenging. And the message is this, that you don't get to sacred space because you judge the anger, judge the deity, resist it, try to move away and ignore it. Of course, you don't get there if the deity takes over. But the access to sacred space, our own awake heart, our true nature, comes from being able to relate to these energies, like anger, with presence, mindfulness, kindness. And as we do, the deities transform. The anger becomes its pure essence, which for anger has a lot of clarity and discrimination, and it empowers us, but not in a delusional way. In fact, the Tibetans say this, they say, the poison is the medicine. So it's not about getting rid of our fears, our anger, our grief, any emotion. It's about opening to it in a way that we actually set free its enlightened essence. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that and then practice. But just to say, I find this like a very, it's an elegant metaphor for awakening. And it really has to do with transmuting energy. And as far as bridging divides, it gives us two key principles. And one is, when anger arises, honor it. You know, every emotion, every deity is intelligent. Whoops, just a second. That was my alarm that just went off to let me know that I need to start getting ready for this. So every deity is intelligent. That means every emotion that's wired into us has a reason that it's there. And fundamentally, it's a life energy there because it loves life. It wants to help us. I mean, fear is trying to protect us. Guilt's trying to make sure that we're not unacceptable. And anger is trying to bring our attention to where there's obstacles to our well-being, whatever's blocking us from being safe or respected or loved or whatever it is. And without anger, we wouldn't know we've encountered an obstacle. So what I'm saying is that underneath anger, if we pay attention, there's something we care about, something that wants attention. Anger is some sign of life-loving life. And because most of us, as soon as we get angry on some level, we think it's a sign of personal badness. I mean, I can just ask for a hand raise here. How many of you have some sense in you that it's bad to be angry? Right? Good. Yeah, thank you. I didn't want to be the only one. You know, I've seen in spiritual groups, meditation groups, how much that's kind of like part of the message, you know, that's like an unspiritual thing. I don't know how many of you have picked up that one. I find it, you know, it's particularly acute in the sense of, I see so often how the racial undertones, that if a person of color has anger about the injustice and oppression in the society, there's some in a meditation group, some sense of, oh, well, we shouldn't be angry. We should go about this in a constructive way. And it totally shames and denies the intelligence of that deity. Okay, so we're going to keep going. For me, because like so many, when anger comes up, I think I shouldn't be. My strategy is I immediately say, forgiven, forgiven. And it's not like I'm saying this is a bad thing, therefore I forgive it. It's like I'm just simply saying this is one of the weather systems of this universe that's arising, and forgiven, let go of any resistance or bad, you know, sending bad messages. Just, it's here, it's allowed to be here, and it has something to let me know about. So the first principle is to honor the anger. The second principle is that, as we know, there's a huge amount of suffering when it takes over. When our minds are just circling around and he said and she shouldn't and he didn't and I could, you know, when we're going through our just repeating repertoire of what's wrong with someone else, we're in a very small place. Our body is not happy because our body is feeling all the hormones and enzymes and everything related that's so stressful from anger. It's not wholesome. So Ruth King, who is a friend, teaching colleague, author of the book Mindful of Race, fantastic book, she says that anger is initiatory, not transformational. I think that's so powerful, that it helps us to initiate a response. It lets us know, pay attention, something's going on. But it doesn't create that transformation, that deep transformation that opens us to a larger sense of our being.